Today I fucked up by yelling, "Yeah," in a Zoom meeting after somebody said she was finally finished. I usually have myself muted in Zoom meetings, unless I'm talking. A woman in the meeting was going on and on about something she had brought up toward the end that nobody cared about. This woman is known for this. She manipulates customers to ask for changes to our product that SHE wants, then insists on discussing it in meetings until she gets her way. In fact, we probably wouldn't need to have meetings as often as we do if not for her. I was pretty much ignoring her. I work from home and keep my office door closed. Everybody in my family knows I may be on the phone or in a Zoom meeting, so they're all very careful about making noise and not disturbing me. Somebody quietly tapped on my door. Since the door is out of the video frame, my family can crack the door and talk to me while I'm in a Zoom meeting. Since I usually keep myself muted, when my wife tapped on the door, I yelled, "Yeah." Immediately, I heard comments like, "Don't hold back, tell us how you really feel." The woman dragging out the meeting said, "Well, I'm glad I could bring you such joy." I then realized I wasn't muted, but still wasn't exactly sure what they were talking about. I said, "Sorry, somebody knocked at my door." About that time, I got a PM from another participant that told me I had yelled, "Yeah," right after the annoying woman had said, "I'm finally done." I don't think anybody even heard what I said about somebody knocking on my door. Too long did not read. I yelled, "Yeah," in a Zoom meeting, unmuted, right when an annoying person said she was finally finished. Check if you're muted, then check again. Then check that your camera is off if you aren't expected to have it on. I once did something similar but said, "OMG, what exactly is her job?" I was responding to a peer in the room who said her stepdaughter finally got a job at a huge company. I was excited too, but it came across audio as bitchy. I was in a Teams meeting during COVID under similar circumstances. Person was rattling on about their leadership of their team, leading to vast increase in profit by. In the background we all clearly heard, "Oh, shut the fuck up." The meeting adjourned quickly after that. One of my finest moments was saying, "Well, that sounds like a fucking nightmare," on a Zoom meeting in which I thought I was muted. It was in response to the CEO outlining their plans to transfer all our files to the cloud. Big law firm, about 900 attendees on the call. They told us at the start we'd all been automatically muted, but apparently not. Somewhere, every muted coworker silently thanked you for your service, United States. In my head, you yelled, "Yeah, like Lil Jon," which makes it hilarious. Face with tears of joy. Today I fucked up by accidentally traumatizing a child and ruining the trust she had in her mother. Not today, but a few months ago. I worked a student job in a more high-end shoe store. The kind where you're not allowed to pull shoes from a shelf. You have to wait to be served by a salesperson, get a cup of coffee. We had to put the shoes on the client's feet while kneeling, etc. We were trained on every single brand, so if a client had a question, we could even tell you the name of the cow whose leather you're wearing. Yes, there is a brand that lets you track this. I was selling children's shoes. These were expensive considering that they're meant for kids, but still in a more affordable price range, so I served a more diverse customer base. The owner told us to educate parents and kids as much as possible in terms of foot health and proper fit, and to answer every question they might have. So much for the context. This incident happened with my first client that I was allowed to serve on my own without any supervision. A mother and her 8-year-old daughter came in. I asked if they were buying for a special occasion and if they already had an idea of what they were looking for. The mother said that they want an everyday sneaker, but it can't contain any leather. Okay, that's easy enough for my first client, I think to myself. I ask the kid some more questions like her favorite color and go get the first 3 pairs to try on. After like the 4th pair of shoes, I've gotten to know them a little better, and I asked why they didn't want any leather. Could be a style choice, an allergy or whatever. It's none of those reasons. The girl is actually vegan and doesn't want any animal remains in her shoes. At this point I knew that I had fucked up and should have just quietly gotten some new pairs to try. The mother was frantically shaking her head at me behind her daughter's back, but the kid asked why the shoes weren't vegan. I had rehearsed some explanations and some sort of muscle memory or whatever kicked in. I broke out in a very detailed description about how the glue for most shoes is made. FYI, it's made out of horses and or bunnies. The kid's eyes grew big. She started tearing up and quietly said, "I was trampling on the bunnies?" At this point I finally shut my mouth, but the damage is done. The child is having a full-blown existential crisis while her mother tries to console her. It took a while to convince the girl to even touch the floor with her feet again, because all the people with bunny glue walked over it. The mother later apologized to me about the chaos and said that she didn't want her daughter to know about the glue because fully vegan and cruelty-free shoes are way out of their price range. She just wanted to avoid leather to please her child without spending a fortune. I still was placed on probation and back under supervision because I failed to properly communicate. Too long did not read. I lectured a child about how shoe glue is made from animals. Turns out the child was vegan, and the mother didn't want her to know too much about shoe production so she could save money. Parent fucked up. Not you. Asked for no leather, didn't specify vegan. When you found out vegan, you correctly said the shoes weren't vegan. Cruelty-free shoes were way out of her price range. So she went to a high-end shoe store? What? I was trampling on the bunnies, is such a devastating sentence. You didn't just ruin her trust in her mom, you ruined shoes. All shoes. Forever. Did you sell many shoes with non-vegan glue? Apparently animal glue is quite rare these days because the synthetic alternative is cheaper. Even if it's not certified vegan, it still is in a lot of cases. Why the fuck, after being told about the child's issues, would you say that? Seriously, everyone who says parent fucked up is wrong. Why did you feel the smug self-serving need to clarify to this child what the glue was? The glues could have just as easily been synthetic. In which case you could have told the child these shoes are made with petrochemicals destroying the earth. Indigenous people are murdered in their beds so oligarchs can steal their land to make these glues. You are seriously misinformed. Many shoes are in fact vegan, but aren't promoted as such, and even fewer will have labels like cruelty-free. Synthetic glue is way more common than animal-based. Today I fucked up by acting suspicious as F during a traffic stop. I pull over, hands at 10 and 2, trying to look like the model citizen I am. The officer walks up and goes, "License and registration, please." First, I reach for the glove box and accidentally smack my sunglasses off my face. They bounce into the passenger footwell. I lean over to grab them and realize it totally looks like I'm reaching for a weapon. Cue the cop's flashlight clicking on like a spotlight in an interrogation room. At this point, I start over-explaining everything. "Sorry, officer. I just dropped my sunglasses. They're prescription. Not drugs. I mean, obviously not drugs, they're glasses, haha." He gives me the "what the fuck is wrong with you" look. I hand him my license, but my hands are shaking so bad I basically fling it at him like a playing card. It lands halfway out the window. He just sighs and goes, "Sir, your taillight is out. Get it fixed." Too long did not read. Got pulled over for a broken taillight. Panicked so hard I acted like I was auditioning for Narcos, Suburban Edition. On the upside, the cop was probably saying to himself, "Zero chance this kid's a criminal. I'm just standing here, and they can't keep their shit together. I think we found a smooth criminal. God, this just reeks of quirky chapped slop. BS story. Try harder. Cops happen. You just gotta treat them like people and not their status. That being said, they're not your friend. They will try their best to get a cuff if you're doing something illegal or they suspect as much. At that point, you gotta shut up a bunch. In your anecdote, the cop knew he was making you super uncomfortable, LOL, and let you ride. Editor. AI slop.